So there's a lot that's been spoken about consolidation in the banking sector. Apart from the fact, of course, that other quarters had a lot of expectation that the 25,000 crore, PSB recap might actually be stepped up. You have added a caveat there. So what's the game plan here in terms of consolidation? Because it's not an easy thing among the public sector space. And one quick question, sir, on the FRBM roadmap going forward. Committee will be looking into things. What do you have in mind as of now?
You see, as far as the consolidation agenda is concerned, as far as PSBs are concerned, the government has already said that it will bring down, in the long run, its equity. It's open to the idea of bringing it down to 52%. I made a specific reference in my speech to the IDBI, and that reference below 50% was in reference to the IDBI. I think the first and the immediate agenda is that we strengthen the banks. We strengthen them by recapitalization. What I have announced today is not the last word or the last amount as far as recapitalization is concerned. And therefore, be prepared, there will be something more which will happen. There is some amount which is a carry forward of the current year, which is still to be spent. And thereafter, we are willing to look at consolidation. Consolidation among subsidiaries, consolidation of subsidiaries with principal bank, consolidation of weak bank with strong bank, subject to that overall 52% discipline that we've laid down for ourselves. Now, as far as the FRBM is concerned, both the Finance Secretary and the Chief Economic Advisor have just explained that we've carried on a big debate, and this was in fact, I was glad that this dominated the center stage in the last couple of weeks, that issues of such economic importance also have developed a tendency to dominate the center stage of debate as to whether we require fiscal prudence and discipline, since we announced last year that we were pausing for a year, but maintaining the direction. And since public investment had to be kept high, should we again for a second year running revise the target? Now, as it turned out to be, because of various factors, we realized that even this year we could meet the target and also keep to the financial discipline itself. There were not two, but there were three different opinions. There were the purists who wanted the 3.5 to be strictly adhered to. There were those who said spend more. It doesn't make a difference if it's marginally altered. And there was a third view of people who said this year stick to 3.5, but at the same time, for the future, just review whether you should always have a figure or you should have a small range. Because economic circumstances globally keep on changing. And therefore, should we curtail growth because we've committed ourselves to a figure? Now, we haven't been able to form an opinion on the third issue. So all I have said is that while we stick to 3.5 this year, and it is eminently achievable, we look at the possibility by getting some experts to advise us. That's where it stands.
Conservative commentators are saying that this budget puts this government left of center and positions for the 2019 election.
I think this is a kind of definition in which conventional minds in the media get struck. This budget deals with the reality of India. And the reality of India is that in today's economic setup, there is a serious challenge, if not a distress, as far as the agrarian sector is concerned. And therefore, you have to address agriculture, you have to address rural infrastructure. At the same time, you have to address physical infrastructure, social sector commitments. And therefore, this budget is a combination of several things. Now, if I just seriatim count them for you, where would you put infrastructure spending, which is a record high? Priority being given to agriculture and to rural areas. Targeting of subsidies through a legislation which I intend to introduce in the almost immediately now. How would you then call a reform in the transport sector, the most unreformed sector? So it addresses an area, city after city doesn't have a bus service, and therefore you are allowing entrepreneurs to put their own vehicles on the road and using the concurrent power under the Constitution to amend the Motor Vehicles Act and nudging the states to implement the reform. Introducing FDI, several areas we made changes, but then this is a change we've made for storage, processing and sale of food products produced and manufactured in India. So you link a very progressive FDI policy with the farm sector itself. Resolution of disputes, insolvency to resolution of banking distress issues. Gas exploration. Selecting universities, as Jayan just now mentioned, both in the private and the state sector, and developing 10 universities as globally competitive and creating an environment. Settlement of infrastructure disputes. Because all your stalled projects, so you've given a 3-point agenda besides the amendment to the Arbitration Act and the commercial courts. These are the next 3 agendas. I think this is one of the largest ever simplification of the tax laws. Presumptive taxation, salaried class has a very simple tax return. You are almost bringing business institutions below a turnover of 2 crores to that level. You are bringing bulk of the professionals to that level. And then taking a bold step on clearing the backlog of all your virtual table, the mess on the table as far as taxation is concerned, through various settlement schemes. Giving a boost to the housing sector. So how would each one of these from grass exploration fit into your definition of left or right? So this addresses the sectors which need to be addressed. And obviously rural India needs to be addressed the most.
सर सरकार बार बार दोहराती रही कि हम जीएसटी लागू करने वाले हैं और जल्दी लागू करेंगे, लेकिन बजट में जीएसटी की तरफ कदम बढ़ते हुए बहुत दिखा नहीं, चाहे वो सर्विस टैक्स का मामला हो या फिर एक्साइज ड्यूटी का मामला हो.
देखिए, जीएसटी संविधान संशोधन से लागू होगा और जितने भी हम टैक्सेशन डिसीजंस ले रहे हैं वो धीरे धीरे उस दिशा में कन्वर्ज कर रहे हैं. उसकी तैयारी हम रख रहे हैं. मतलब सर्विस टैक्स सडनली स्टैंडर्ड रेट की तरफ चला जाए ओवरनाइट, ये संभव नहीं है. तो इसलिए जितने भी छोटे छोटे स्टेप्स लिए गए हैं पिछले 2-3 वर्षों में, वो उस कन्वर्जेंस की दिशा में ही है.
मध्यम वर्ग को बड़ी उम्मीद थी कि इनकम टैक्स स्लैब में कुछ बदलाव किया जाएगा. आपने भी एक वक्त में वकालत की थी कि 1 लाख से 5 लाख तक टैक्स फ्री कर दिया जाना चाहिए. वो क्यों नहीं कर पाए और कब तक करेंगे?
देखिए, जो टैक्सेशन में प्रिजम्पटिव टैक्स के माध्यम से और टैक्सेशन प्रणाली की सरलता के माध्यम से छोटे और एक मध्य दर्जे के टैक्स पेयर को रिलीफ मिला है, उसकी दिशा बहुत अच्छी है. इस बजट में आप थोड़ा गहराई से इस प्रिजम्पटिव टैक्स को एनालाइज करेंगे, जो व्यवसायिक को भी और प्रोफेशनल्स को भी मिलता है, तो उसका रिलीफ जिसकी आप वकालत कर रहे हैं उस दर्जे से कहीं आगे निकल जाता है.
You have acknowledged that there is a global economic crisis and your very generous allocations in the different sectors should stimulate domestic demand as such. But do you think that you will be able to keep the Indian economy immune from the external storms?
Well, I don't have to acknowledge that there is a global crisis. The whole world is acknowledging that. That's a reality. And obviously, Indian economy is integrated with the world. And therefore, some areas of what's happening elsewhere in the world will impact on us. And therefore, there is a specific paragraph, if you see, towards the initial part of the budget, which says, how do we build up firewalls that we are able to resist the impact of the global situation to the maximum and the best of our ability.
You, in your speech, said that the political environment has unsupported. Now, when it comes to reforms agenda, we see the opposition has stalled quite a few reform bills. And I ask this because you spoke about cess and you said that it will be subsumed when GST is in place. But the most criticism that has come today is with regards to the cesses that have been imposed by the government, calling it a cess government.
Sir, you have changed the name of the Department of Disinvestment. So, is it? Don't you see? Is it as a sign of a failure since the Department of Disinvestment has never met its target, and in your last year's budget have increased substantially your target for disinvestment?
First of all,
is it the reason that you have not mentioned any target for this year as well?
You see, the target is there in the documents. You read them carefully. In the last 21 months, we've achieved a better track record on divestment in terms of quantum than any government in the past. Now, we couldn't achieve our target obviously because the markets were very volatile. And therefore, if we were meeting our fiscal deficit targets even otherwise, I don't think there is any well-advised policy that we must sell when the markets are low or markets are volatile. Now, as far as changing the name is concerned, what the Secretary Disinvestment has already explained to you, it's management of government investments. And management of government investments really means it's a money belonging to the government or the people of India. Whether we must have 80% equity in a company or 70% equity in a company, or we must have 2 new highways. Both are investments on behalf of the people of India. So instead of having 80% investment in a company, I have 70% share, and in the process, if I can have 2 new highways, it's a matter of policy. So it's management of the government investment.
I am taking it personally, sir. I am taking it personally. I'll tell you why. कैसे इस्तेमाल किया इस बच्चे का, उसका आज प्रमाण देती हूं.